Hello everyone, my name is Christian. Welcome back to TechPoint. Today our guest is Dan, the CEO of Maintenance Care. Hello.
Hello.
Nice to meet you. Please tell us what your company does.
Yeah, we are CMMS, which is a computerized maintenance management system. The name of the company and the product is Maintenance Care, and we help maintenance teams manage their daily work, their work orders, their preventative maintenance, all the assets in their buildings, everything that you do on a regular basis in the maintenance team. So that's what our software does.
What do you see is the biggest problem that you solve for these teams?
Well, I mean, the biggest problems that we see on a daily basis is that the teams aren't organized. They don't have a good schedule for their day. They don't maximize their time. A lot of times, the managers themselves don't know what their staff is doing. So our system helps organize everybody, maximizes their efforts, and really, I mean, people come to us sometimes they're using paper and they're not even using another system or even not even email or anything like that. They're using paper, so they gain the most when they transition to a software like ours. But even if they're using another tool, sometimes our software is very unique in that it focuses on the day-to-day productivity, and that improves their workflows typically, even if they're coming from another software. So
yeah. Awesome. I saw on your website that you have a lot of features, but please tell us your top three.
Yeah, the top three features of Maintenance Care have to be the work order management. So those are things that come up every day. Let's say there's a light bulb that goes out. So somebody can submit they notice it, they can submit a work order and say, hey, light bulb's out, and the maintenance team can go and fix it. So that's the number one, is work orders that come up on a daily basis. The second one would have to be preventative maintenance. So that's things they need to schedule for compliance or just to keep the equipment up and running properly so they know when they're supposed to do it and they can track when they have done it last and so on. So that entire scheduling of that. And then the third one is asset management or asset tracking. And so they're tracking, how much they've spent in repairs related to their pieces of equipment. They're tracking, if it's time to replace it, they can do capital planning from that and say, okay, it's time to replace these pieces of equipment. Let's do that. So those three have to be the top three. It does a lot of things, but those are what our users focus on.
And what is the pricing for Maintenance Care?
Yeah, so what we've done, we've been able to stay competitive in the marketplace because we have been self-funded since the beginning. We don't have investors that come in and say, this is what your price has to be. It has to keep going higher. So we're lucky that way. And so we've stayed competitive. So we have 3 plans, and one of our plans is free. It's free forever. Like, you can sign up. It's one user, and you have limited usage of what the software can do, but you can use it for free. And then there's a work order edition, which is just for work orders. So you're not doing preventative maintenance or asset tracking or anything like that, just for work orders. And that one is $100 a month. And then there is a full version, which includes every feature and everything, unlimited users. That's the other thing. It's unlimited users. So it doesn't matter how many people you add to it. It's included. And that one's $200 a month if you pay yearly. So that's very competitive when you consider you could have like 20 users on that and you're still only paying that $200 a month. So
yeah, that's really competitive.
Yeah, exactly. Like, if you look out there in the marketplace, like, it's most of them charge per user. So as soon as you get over like 2 or 3 users, and you're not even, sometimes they're sharing user accounts so they can save money, and you're not getting the real productivity you need out of the tool. So just the fact that it's just that unlimited, then you get benefit after 3 users plus for sure. So
that's a great way of thinking. Yeah. And do you have any integrations with other platforms?
Yeah, we do. We, in many years that we've been around, we've worked real hard at doing some integrations. We have a lot. We have some of the fun ones. We have integration with Amazon Alexa, for example. So, you can speak into Alexa and say, submit a work order, or what are my latest work orders that have come in so I can manage them. So there's a lot of that. We have integration with a company named Zapier. I don't know if you know Zapier, but or Zapier. I don't know how they pronounce it, but they have over 5,000 other companies that are integrated with Zapier. So we are connected to that. So you can connect to pretty much anything you want. We do have an API as well. So you can utilize our API and connect your tools with it. We integrate also, this is quite unique. We integrate with temperature sensors. So they are wireless temperature sensors that you can put in a fridge, in a boiler room, on hot water, whatever it is you want. And wirelessly, it sends the temperature readings back to Maintenance Care. so that you can track if maybe your hot water's gone below where it should go, so you can go and fix it. So it'll actually warn you when it goes out of range and things like that. So we're integrated with that. That's a really popular function that people utilize.
So I think you have a lot of use cases, but I'd love to hear some popular use cases.
Yeah, I mean, so I'll tell you a little bit about our industries that we target, right? So for us, we have started initially, we were in senior living facilities, so senior care homes mainly. So these were skilled nursing facilities or long-term care homes. And the reason we were in that industry so much early on was because of compliance and the government saying you need to do these things to keep people healthy. So you make sure you have a cleaning schedule, make sure you change the filters on the HVAC and so on. So we were very popular in that industry and still are. But then we started to branch out to other industries, and we fit in so many, because everybody has a building. So you need to maintain that building no matter what you're in. It could be an office building, but it could also be manufacturing. Like you could be making, parts for something, and you need to maintain the equipment that you're using to make the parts with. And so all of that needs to be maintained. There's schools. We do a lot of schools. We do a lot also of airports, and, casinos and anything you could, property management, tenants, where it's condo buildings. So we can do anything. And so our software is pretty, volatile, kind of able to get into those different marketplaces, because everybody has a building, and that's how it is. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And apart from the costs, how do you differentiate from your competition?
I think the biggest factor, I always say this to people, because I think what happens is when you're shopping for software, often you're looking at, okay, I'm looking for this feature that does this, right? I want a button that is red and it's in the top right corner, and when I press it, it shows me this, right? A lot of people are looking for something specific. And I say, these days you could pretty much build anything you want, right? And so it's really, 10 years ago, maybe you couldn't find some software that wasn't evolved enough that you were struggling with. But these days, everybody has the features. Like, I'm not going to lie, like, other competitors have work orders and preventative maintenance. Like, they all have it. But there's some key differences. And for us, the key difference first is in how we support our users. So I think that, the ability for us to train them and to have unlimited customer support. They can call us anytime, talk to somebody, chat with us over a chat function, any of that. And we make sure that level of support, that's not available in every company. Sometimes it's only chat support. Sometimes they don't really care about their users. We have no long-term contracts. So our customers can cancel anytime if they want with just 30-day notice. So it really is important for us to focus on long-term relationships with our customers and make them successful. And I think that's a big differentiator. And it gets overlooked when people shop for software, because they're focused on that button and instead of the people that support the software. So that's one definite differentiator. And I'd say another one would be just the fact that we're self-funded, like I mentioned. I think that allows us to make decisions that are motivated by servicing our customers and not necessarily by some investor who's just looking to say, okay, hey, can you up the price because I want to make some extra money here? We can focus on what our customers asks, and we can do that. And we've always been that way. And I think that's a huge benefit.
When did you start the company?
When did we start it? So we started it in 2000 the product started in 2003, so almost 20 years ago. We had the idea originally, and we started to build it, and it was the original. We have some key partners that founded the company together, including myself. And one of the founders was a developer, and so he got to work and built the first prototype. It wasn't called Maintenance Care back then; it was called something else. I think it was called My Super. So it wasn't the same. But we built this tool and formed the company 3 years later in 2006, when we saw that there was a product that we were ready to sell. And you have to think about, in 2003, the landscape of the computer world wasn't what it is today. Nobody was doing software as a service, the monthly subscriptions. Nobody was doing that. It was a CD that you used to buy, and they would install it, and that's it, right? And so now with these these memberships, we were one of the first. We were like, we're going to do this as a membership. I think there was another company doing it. You might know it, called Salesforce. They used to do memberships back then. And so they were kind of one of the first that started. And we were like, we like this model. Let's do it that way. And so we built our software from scratch to be a software as a service. And because of that, I think we were able to displace a lot of our competitors easily, because they were charging, like $20,000, $30,000 just to install the disk, and so we were able to get through and just kind of displace them just by our virtue of our. It was hard to convince people at first, like, hey, you're going to rent it every month. They're like, no, I just want to pay one time and own it. And they're like, no, this is better. You'll see. And now, history has proven that it is better, because you get updated software all the time, right? Like, and it's good with your browser. You don't need to have any all special tool. And if let's say you upgrade from Windows 98 to Windows NT or whatever it is you're upgrading to, your software will still work, and you're not having to buy new licensing. So it ends up being better for the consumer in the long run. So that's when we started, and we've seen a lot. That was before mobile devices were even around. So we had two-way pagers for our maintenance people. We used to communicate with two-way pagers with our software, but there was no iPod, or iPhone or iPad or anything. So you can imagine, how do we get the maintenance person to work remotely while they're going out fixing things, but still communicate with our software? So we were utilizing two-way pagers. But the moment there was the BlackBerries came out, and then as soon as the iPod Touch came out, that just blew up our business in such a great way, because we were giving away iPods for every subscription. That's what we were doing at the time. It's like, you subscribe, here's an iPod, and people it was going crazy, because every maintenance person wanted to have this device, so it was quite interesting of a time to see that transition.
No, such a long story, and with a lot of positives. And how did you come up with the idea? You mentioned the idea.
Yeah, so this is a funny story, actually. So we were working in like an office environment. So I was in marketing, and it was for an insurance company. So it wasn't related to maintenance or anything. We were just working there. And I had a friend who, this is going to be funny that you'll see, is we went to the washroom, and he happened to plug the toilet. Okay, so he plugged the toilet, and then he was like, okay, what do I do here? I don't know, who do I tell? The maintenance person. He's like, I got to go to the front desk and tell the pretty receptionist about this, and I don't want to do this, right? So anyways, he was like, he finally went up to the receptionist, and he's like, somebody plugged the toilet, what do I do? And then she was like, well, you got to put a little sticky note on the maintenance person's door, and that's how they'll know. And we were like, really? That's the way? Like, you don't have a phone call or nothing? No, just a sticky note on the door. And we were like, okay, well, there's got to be a system that we can build that could be better for that. That was the original idea. And so we were able to take that, that original simple concept and build other tools as we got customers and people asked for those features. But the original concept was about communicating to the maintenance person what problems we were seeing in the building. So that's how it came.
Yeah, interesting. And did you not get bored in over almost 20 years doing this?
Yeah, you know what? We never get bored. I mean, first of all, the marketplace changes all the time, right? And it's actually, we're just always trying to keep up. Like right now, we have AI that's coming out, which is dominating. We've all seen, Chat GPT and all that stuff. And so that AI stuff is what we want to integrate in our software next. So there's always new things, and so we never get bored. Plus, our customers, if you think about it, like our customers are so diverse. We have schools and hospitals and airports. We get to learn about different industries and how they do their day-to-day maintenance of the buildings every time we have a new customer that's something else. I mean, we have resorts in Turks and Caicos, that use us, for example, like in the Caribbean, these beautiful places that you go to, right? And so every time we're always learning something new, plus the technology changes. Like I said, the iPods came in, and then it's other things, right? So there are challenges that come up, definitely. Being the internet itself and the marketing through the internet, that's quite a different change in how things are happening. Google search and Google ads, and then directory listings and all these different things. So we, there's always something new to learn. So I don't think that's ever going to get boring.
That's a great perspective. I love it.
Yeah.
And what's your vision for the future?
Yeah, I think the vision has to be to keep going with building tools that fit, keep the core model of maintenance care what it is, which is a productivity tool, making our maintenance people be able to work through their day. But then keep adding these layers with it that first of all, integrate further with new technology. So AI is the biggest thing right now we're working on. And I'll tell you some of the ideas that, that we've kind of started to develop. And some of them have things like, for example, you've been working with maintenance care for a year and you've got your productivity and you think you've got your team working really well. And then you're going to put in this AI tool that's going to look at your productivity and compare you to other maintenance care customers and say, you know what? You're actually not doing too well when you change light bulbs, you're taking twice as long as these other companies. So why don't you rearrange your schedule this way? And it'll suggest a better way to do your day in order, just by the experience that it learned from other customers and learning that process. And I think that could be huge because now we're not replacing a manager, but what we're doing is giving tools to a manager for the manager to say, I can do my job better and I can direct my team even more efficiently. And I think that's where things are going.
Well, yeah. So there are a lot of possibilities with AI.
Absolutely, yeah, it's crazy. I mean, that's just the tip of the iceberg, and it's just, we can have a topic just on that for ourselves. But there's so many interesting things as part of that. Absolutely, yeah.
How big is your team right now?
Yeah, so our team is still, we kept it fairly small, even though we have tens of thousands of customers across Canada, US, and around the world. Our main core of employees is, if you include our contractors and our developers and so on that we contract sometimes, we're about 20, 25 people. So we're not a huge team. We've managed to do that because we utilize a lot of other software to keep our productivity. Yeah. I mean, we use things like Salesforce, we use HubSpot, we use, even like our communication tools that we use, and we chat within the team and all these things. So we're able to keep our productivity going, even though there's a small team, because we've automated a lot of stuff. And, one of the key places where we invest a lot is development, obviously, but also support. That, like I said, is the thing that makes us stand out. And I think investing in our support team, making sure they're always there, there's always somebody to answer a phone call. And that's very important for us because you have maintenance people who maybe are not that strong with computers always. And they don't want to chat. They don't want to email. They want to talk to somebody and say, which button do I press here to make this work? And we're there to do that. So I think that's another place where we invest quite a bit. So even with our small team, though, we've been able to do that. So that's great. I'm always confused, on a side note, I'm always confused when I find these big, large companies, I'm not going to name names, but these big, huge software names. And the only time you can get a hold of them is through email ticketing, and these are huge companies that I would think, and I'm pretty good with computers and sometimes I struggle with how to find them, I can't find support. And I think that is a serious flaw in their business model. Maybe they can make money right now, but the minute there's a competitor that comes along that offers that, people will think nothing of switching to somebody that gives them proper support. So that's my opinion on that. Absolutely.
I saw that a lot too. So that's a great point. And why did you choose not to raise any funds?
Yeah. So, when we were working at the insurance company, way back when, and one of the things that I always wanted, and we've had different businesses throughout the years, but it's independence. We wanted independence. We wanted freedom to really make decisions about our customers. The insurance company I was working for was a privately held company, but then they went public while I was working there, and I saw the transition of a company and what the effects are of the employees going from a private to public. I mean, people were being let go, for example, not because of how well they were working, but just because it made the budgets look better for public, stocks and things like that. So I was looking at that transition. I was like, okay, we need something where we have control over our own destiny. And so that was our goal. It wasn't to make a bunch of money. It was just, we wanted independence. And then now the company grew. And the decision changes a little bit in the sense that our competitors are getting $60, $70 million investors. and we're like, okay, we're competing advertising dollars with what is pure revenue driven model. with these companies that have investment and have other goals. So there is a decision-making process that has to be made at a certain point for us to go, if we want to compete with them, do we get investors? Luckily, the structure of our marketing strategy has kept us being able to not have to go get investors. And I think we're going to be successful at that. I think we can keep that going because we have so much growth every year and so many customers stay with us. Like, our retention is pretty high. So we can take that money, reinvest it into marketing, and we don't need to get investors. If somebody did come along and wanted to invest, we'd be a really good investment because we make so much money and we're self-sustaining. At the same time, that would take away our freedom. And so I still want to be free, and I'd rather do that than to get somebody to come in and just have different agendas, right? So that was the decision making. It's not for everybody. We struggled through a lot of years of remortgaging our own houses and, like getting loans and thinking we weren't going to make it or be able to pay our bills. It's not a fun road, but ultimately it paid off in this case. We were lucky and fortunate to get there. So.
Do you think that was the biggest challenge that you faced?
Absolutely. I think, it's funny, when you start a business, like I see so many of my co-business, owners and so on go through a different route where they go and get an investor and they, that process for them, it seemed like it was easier. Like they built a business to a certain level. They got an investor. They pretty much cashed out. They're still working for the company, but now they got their money. And I'm like, maybe I should have taken that route because like that seems like they have an easier life. But at the same time, knowing your goal before you start, and the goal doesn't have to be like, I want to make this many $1 million. The goal can be, I want this type of lifestyle, and it's this type of life, this type of decision making. That was our goal. It was freedom. But at the same time, every time we hit an obstacle, and the biggest challenge was exactly what you're saying, is this concept of, okay, I have to fund this myself, remortgage my house, stress about my house. Every time that happened, I would look at the alternative and I'd say, I still would rather be free and do this. And so that's what kept us going, and I'm lucky because my wife, she's an owner in the company. So we made those decisions together. And so it wasn't just me, putting our house at risk and not having support from a partner who is also going through the same thing. But it was a challenge. There's no doubt. If for young people starting a business, you have to know what your end goal is. If your end goal is to get funding, then that's fine. But if your end goal is freedom, and like in our case, then I think you'd be prepared to go through those struggles. And we were lucky that we had a house to even remortgage. Some people don't, but I mean, we remortgaged it like 3-4 times. So, I mean, it's not like it was a one-time thing. It's like we would pay it off and then like have to put money back, pay it off. And at certain points we would think we would be losing our house. I mean, that's how serious it can get. Right. So you have to think about that, but it was worth it so far.
Wow. I'm impressed. Yeah, explained great. Thank you so much. And you mentioned the lifestyle part. How many hours do you work a day? No.
So that's that is the other side. Well, I think we, as owners, we live our business. Like I don't even, it could be 9:00 at night. Even if I'm not sitting at my desk, I'm thinking of what I could do better tomorrow, and and the marketing strategies and how we're going to teach our staff a different technique or whatever it is. So it's hard to put a fixed hours as far as, because it is really always. But that being said, the actual sitting at my desk, and working type of hours, we typically would say per day, it would have to be at least 9 hours a day that we put in. But it goes way beyond that for sure. Like, I mean, we dedicate our weekends to it. I mean, I know my wife, she works pretty much all weekend as well, like at her desk. She's working on operations and reporting and all these things that need to be done and doesn't have time during the week. So you have to be dedicated. There's no doubt. Like if you want to be an employee, you'll have a 9-to-5 job, and then you go home and you spend time with your family and you're happy and you can forget about your job. There's some trade-off to that too. But definitely be prepared as a business owner. If I have any advice, is that you have to live it. It has to be everything you do. It's not, you're not going to be able to do it halfway. You can do it for a little bit, but it won't last. And so, be all in it. And if you're excited about it or motivated by something about it, then it should be easy to do that. I like talking and thinking about it. Sure, I sometimes like a vacation, but that is just kind of a side thing. But most of the times, every night, every weekend, I'm thinking about the business and working on it somehow. So,
yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for this piece of advice. Yeah, it's awesome. And you mentioned you had great marketing. What do you think was your best growth tactic?
Wow. Yeah. I mean, definitely when I talked about our iPod Touch giveaway, I think that was definitely the biggest growth tactic that we've ever had. We're always trying to replicate that now. Like, what else can we give away that will motivate the maintenance people to, because if we give away a $300 iPod Touch, it's nothing compared to, a customer's longevity with us. So for us, that was worth it at the time. And, and that's how much they were back then. You can get a $300 iPod Touch, and we would buy them in bulk. Like we would buy them like 50 at a time and we would order them and then just give them out. That had to be the most successful. But I mean, lately we're focusing on what we call inbound marketing. So inbound marketing meaning that we put out a lot of social media and training videos, like just videos about how to change filters on an HVAC system, some stuff that our maintenance customers would want to know, right? And then we would divert them to start to nurture those leads and bring them down to a funnel to the point where they either sign up for our free version or they reach out for a demo of the software. And so inbound marketing has been our focus in the last probably 3 to 4 years, maybe 5. And it's the core of our business model. And things like getting out on podcasts and talking to people and educating them is part of that. Like we want to spread our message and hopefully somebody learns something and at the same time find us. And that's, we don't want to be the person. Somebody once told me, you don't want to be the person at a party that is just always talking about themselves, but not bringing any value, right? And so we want to be that person that brings value. And so those training videos and things like that, people can find resources that actually help them. And then, yes, we also sell maintenance software and we think it's pretty great. So.
So smart. Yeah. But how much were the iPods comparing to the subscription?
Yeah, so our subscription wasn't always that price. I think we were originally, maybe around $100 a month for our enterprise edition. So, so it was like 3 months return on investment for the iPods about. So if we were giving an iPod away, then, if they lasted 3 months with us, then we would start to make money, right? And that was the goal. I mean, obviously there's some cost of acquiring that lead that we also have to consider, but basically that was the goal. Like if we could have them stay at least 3 months, we pay for the iPod, and then we can start to. And so most of those customers back then are still with us now. So it worked, right? It was a great starting point with them, and now they're still with us. So we both mutually gain. And I can remember definitely the maintenance teams being so excited because think about it, back then, there was nothing. And now you get this thing that has all these apps on it and you can obviously play video games on it and you can also manage your work. And so they were all very excited about that, and now it seems like everybody's got one. It's not a big deal, but back then it was quite a big deal. So, yeah.
And you already told us that software helps you a lot managing all your business, but I'd love to hear what's your favorite software.
Wow, what's our favorite software? I would have to say, it's maintenance care. No, I'm kidding. Well, of course it is. But apart from maintenance care, I would say that the software we use the most, that is the most effective for our business, has to be Salesforce. Salesforce, we used it since 2010, we manage every workflow from lead capturing to the sales process to implementation as well, and then cases as cases come up, for tech issues. So we use it throughout the entire process. And I have to say that's definitely the most useful tool. We use it quite extensively every single day, and so that's got to be the one. I mean, I think there's lots of little ones that do little functions here and there that are great. We use different tools, but that one has to be the top one for us. Yeah.
Awesome. You shared a lot of value, so I'm really grateful for that. Is there anything else that you want to tell us today on the podcast?
No, I mean, I think this has been great. It's been great talking to you. I appreciate it. And, I would just say when you're shopping for software in general, my advice is to not just, yes, look at the features, look at what it can do for you, but also evaluate the company you're purchasing it from, because that will make a big difference in the long run. It might not feel that way at the beginning, but in the long run, it will. And so that's where we try to strive as well. So, yeah, I appreciate the time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.